Hey, Dream Chasers, this is Aimee J, and thank you so much for tuning into episode 255 of Chasing Dreams. Guys, for today's episode, had to get kind of personal and real with you, I guess, is the way I'll put it. So recently, some things have happened in my life that have brought me to a point of reflection. And it's been interesting because it's a weird kind of out of the body experience. So a few months ago, a friend passed away around my age suddenly, and it just threw me off, right? Not even sure how, when, what is happening. And then about I guess it's like 2.5 weeks ago, another family member or a family member was taken to the hospital. Suddenly, not even sure how or when, etc. Like, you're just in shock when you hear it. And so I go there to kind of be with the family and stuff. But in this whole time, it's this weird out of the body experience because you hear about it happening to people. You hear about these things happening in the world. You know, people losing someone, people having people they know going to the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, what is happening right now? Because in my life, this family member is in the hospital fighting for their life in a sense, just trying to be okay, heal themselves. And everybody's going around with their day in the world. And that was such a wild experience for me because I couldn't, in my mind, keep functioning, so to speak, as though nothing was happening because this was happening in my life, in the peripheral. So it was weird. It was strange to know that I was trying to get updates or trying to go to the hospital or trying to make sure my family was okay in the state they were in and whatnot. And it's just one of those things where, other people are going through this. And it just made me hit, like, how many people's lives are upended by sudden world-changing events? Just didn't see it coming. My life has turned around 180. Don't know which way is up kind of thing. And everybody else is still going about their day. And it's like, that's cool. That's great. Everybody should. But I think for me, it's the fact that you don't think that this will happen. You don't think that you'll go through this. And my family member, my chachin, and, I tell you guys, you can always consider me your Aimee Chechi, which is like older sister. This was my chachin, who's like an older brother. And so for my chachin, he was in the hospital about 11 days or so and then passed away suddenly. And then there was the funeral, the viewing and all that stuff. And we just got back as of this recording yesterday. And I definitely had to take a day off from work because I needed time to rest and recover from that. And I hope my family, if you're ever listening to this, you did the same because I know we needed it. It was devastating for us because my chachin was like a light in a room when he walked in. He was the epitome of kindness and selfless care for others, right? He was right there. He was one of God's angels on earth. Absolutely. And so to lose that light here is hard. And, at the funeral, my sister said something on a post and in her eulogy to my chachin. And she said, "We mistakenly thought we had all the time in the world. We took for granted that there would be a next time." And that really hit me. That really hit me. We took for granted that there would be a next time. And I think the reason that this is this out of body experience and other people are going about their day is because a lot of people, I think in my mind, I know, are taking for granted that there's a next time. We think that there will be time for the things that we're putting off, for that vacation we want to take, for that change in jobs, for that I don't want to do something anymore. I'll have time to change what I want to do in the future. We take for granted that there will be time to do that. And therefore we put it off. right? So many people in the Generation X in particular, I'm not sure, the millennial generation, not so much. Gen Z, I think you guys are embracing it a lot better. But I will travel, I will vacation, I will enjoy my life after retirement. And it's like, but why? But why? When you may not have the health to enjoy the vacation, when you may not have the health to do the climbs and the swims and the, sightseeing you want to do, right? My dad, God bless him, he had a heart attack in his 50s and another one in his 60s or two. Well, he had stents placed, so it wasn't a second heart attack, but he can't do the sightseeing he may want to do in his heart. So when we went to Agra, he stayed in the hotel. Now, mind you, he does enjoy that. But if he wanted to go see, I think he's seen the Taj Mahal and all. But if he had wanted to, he couldn't do it. And so we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We don't know what shape or physicality we will have for that next time. So don't wait. If there is a trip you want to take, do it now when you can enjoy it. And I know, because I'm single, everyone's like, Aimee, that's easy for you to say you're single. Listen, to the people with families, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's possible, right? Bring your kids or don't bring your kids and take some time for yourself, right? But there is a way. I think there is this societal expectation that you have to do things a certain way. And we got to start thinking outside the box here, because life is precious and we need to make the most of it. And that's the thing I've learned in these last few weeks. Life is precious and we have to make the most of it. And so if you think that it's not possible, I'm going to ask you, why not? Why is it not possible for you to do the things you want to do? What is holding you back? Have you asked yourself that? There may actually be a plausible way around whatever obstacle you've put in front of you or has been placed in front of you. It may not be ideal, but there may be ways. And so I say this to say that, I've been in this time of reflection these last 2 weeks, especially this last 24 hours. And, in just hearing the things about my Chachin and how he's helped people, how he's impacted lives. And he wasn't doing it to do that. He was just a good guy. He was a kind man. And, even with us, he was a kind man. And so, I want to say a few things, a few points for this episode. We have guests and stuff. I was like, we got to talk about this because this is important to me. And for you dream chasers who are listening right now, please take consideration to what I'm about to tell you, because it's possible. So number one, I need you, wherever you are in the world, to put together a will, a document that expresses your wishes and desires, and find a lawyer to make it legally binding, meaning each state in the U.S. has different rules and regulations for how wills are recognized. Find a lawyer who will do that for you and put it together, especially if you have children. Think of it like this. The will is your way of showing your family that you want to give them peace at the time of a sudden demise, right? It's a sad and scary place. Nobody wants to be in it. It's already difficult enough when you're mourning. A will makes it easier because you already have defined your wishes. I want X to get ABC. I want my funeral to be like this. I want to be cremated. I want to have my ashes spread here. Or I want a funeral. I want John Doe, Jane Doe to speak at my funeral. Whatever it is, right? Do a will. Put it together. And it's not as, when I was growing up, I thought it was like thousands of dollars to put a will together. I put mine together for under $500 with a lawyer. Prices will vary, state to state, lawyer to lawyer, but find someone and put it together because it is so important. And at the same time, I think we had a I forget what it's called, advance directive put together, which is the statement of my wishes if I am at the hospital and something happens. Do I want extra measures and all that? It just put one together. It is so important for you to do that because you don't want your family fighting after it happens. Why didn't you do X? Why didn't you do Y? Well, because they wanted this to happen. That's what you're preventing. So I want to say that because it makes life so much easier. It does, because at least it's filled out. So my sister and I, we have one. My parents have one. So guys, we have one. But for those of you who don't, I think if you are over the age of 20, you should have a will. And once you put it together, you update it periodically. Okay, so don't let a will go 10 years without updating it, because you're going to have different people in your lives. You may have had different life events. You may have had different things come up. Maybe you bought a house. What happens to that? Maybe you bought a car. What happens to that? Right? So do it once. At least you have it on record, and then try to update it occasionally. All right. If you're in another country, I don't know what the laws are, but please look into it, because I think it's so important for you to have something that talks about your wishes and desires. It'll make it easier on your family. And it's so important. It's so important. And if you can document what you want to have happen at your funeral viewing or whatever you guys may do that. Let someone know. Put it together with your will so that people know, like, if there's X so-and-so you want to speak or do something, do that, because it's not a fun process to go through. It isn't at all a fun process. So do that. Do that. If you love your family, do that. Make it easier. Nobody plans for this. This was a sudden death. My friend who passed away a few months ago, that was sudden. There was no foresight to it. Right? And so that's why you want to do it. That's why time is of the essence. Don't put it off. Don't take for granted that there is a next time, because there may not be. I know that's so depressing, but it's important that we share this and I have this conversation with you guys, because as you're chasing your dreams, it's important that we also take care of ourselves and those around us. And that's what this episode is kind of about. It's only at the end of this episode that I'll figure out what kind of title to give it. But this is the topic we're talking about. So this made me also reflective about where I am in life, right? Because when you have life-changing events, whether directly or indirectly, it gets you thinking. Am I where I want to be? Is this what I want to do? Am I putting things off? Intentionally, unintentionally? I'm still figuring that out. But I want you guys to take some time to figure that out for yourselves. Are you where you want to be? Is this the position you want to have? I think you have to be honest with yourself, because at the end of the day, and I say this over and over again, and I recently had some conversations with family members when we were all gathered together talking about this. And I think sometimes, especially culturally, we make decisions because we think it's for the best for our family. Or this is what my culture expects. This is what my community expects. This is what my family expects. And I have to come back and say, once again, guys, this is your life. This is your life. And I can say that because I did the hard thing. At the age of 26, I had the conversation when I realized that I took a job that was comfortable and, gave me job security and all that, but I was not happy. And I pivoted, because you have to understand, I want to empower you at this moment. This is your life. You are the one that has to close your eyes at night, wake up the next day, and live it. You are the one who goes through it day in and day out. You are the one who is the main star. You are the one who is the director. And you are the one with the power. May not feel like it. But it is true. It is true. And so, I know you guys are like, it's so easy to say that, Aimee JG, but I don't want to. My parents expect this. They want me to be married by this. Don't be desperate. My achin, which is priest in Malayalam, once told me something, and I'll never forget it. Reverend Father K.P. Verghese told me this. He said, Mole, is my dear, don't be desperate. Have faith. Don't be desperate. Don't make choices in desperation. Have faith. And that really stuck with me and has helped in making some of the decisions I make. And saying no is one of the most powerful things you can do. So if you're at a job that you're not enjoying, I'm not saying quit the next day, but start the process. Start looking around for a new position. If you feel you're being there's a thing in some places, in some societies, that you have to go to college, you have to get married, you have to have children, and you have to let me clarify the order. You have to go to college, you have to get a job, you have to get married, and you have to have children. And if you do all of that before the age of 30, it's like you've won the bonus round. You have won at life. But nobody tells you what to do after that. Nobody says how to be happy after that. It's like that's the formula for happiness, but it's a single point. It's a formula for a single point and not the entire future. Life is not a formula. Life is sporadic. Life is chaotic. Life is spontaneous. So you can't live like that. You have to figure it out for yourself, guys. Take the input and suggestions from others, but the end of the day, the buck stops with you. It's your decision. I'll say that again. It is your decision at the end of the day. Because as I've realized now, and sadly, when you're faced with these kinds of realities, at the end of the day, it's you have to answer for how you lived your life. One of the top 5 regrets of those who are dying, who know that it's not spontaneous, those who know because of a disease or something, know that their life is coming to an end. One of their top 5 regrets is not living their life on their own terms. And I'm telling you now, you are empowered to make the choices you want to make. They may not be the right choices, but that's what life is too. Making that choice for yourself, learning, is this right or this wrong? If it's wrong, pivot. But you got to fall. We're all going to fall. Life is like that. Okay? Life is like that. So I want to make sure you know that. Number 3, I talked about in the beginning before I kind of got to the will stuff, but don't take for granted that there's a tomorrow. In your relationships, your plans, your vacations, whatever. Don't take for granted that there's a tomorrow, and don't take for granted that there's only one way, that there are a number of ways to do this, right? We see on TV, we see and hear from people in our life that this is how it should be done. This is the way it is. You see things on TVs and movies and you think that's the way it has to happen. Think outside the box. Think outside the box. And not just TVs. Now you see it all on social media. Think outside the box. Right? What do I mean by that? Hustle culture, which you see all over social media, is not the only way to live your life. It is not even for everyone. It's not. Some people, a lot of people, live life happy with a 9-to-5 job and spending time with their family. There are other people who have to do hustle culture, and that's what makes them happy. What makes you happy? Do that. You may not see it on social media because maybe that's not for you. Maybe that's not for the people who are like you. That's fine. Do you. What is it for you? There are a lot of things that we think we have to have kids in a traditional way. And that is not easy for some people. Some people want kids and are unable to have kids for medical reasons, probably. Think about adoption. Think about surrogacy. Think outside the box. Okay. I was talking to a family member recently, and they found out they had taken something multiple times, right? I took the bar exam twice, but I'm a lawyer. Nobody asks or talks about the difficulties of life. Nobody talks about the fact that people may have to take the bar exam in a state to be a lawyer more than once. Nobody talks about the fact that you may have to do something more than once. Nobody talks about the fact that having children isn't all what you see on social media, the cute pictures and all that. Nobody talks about the fact that you may have a child who is crying Bloody Mary for hours straight, and there is no consoling them. Nobody talks about that. Nope. It happens. And that doesn't make you a failure. None of the things I just said makes you a failure. It's life. It happens. We don't talk about it, though. All you see is the happy roses on social media and in TV. And therefore you think because yours is different that you're a failure. No, that is false. Just because other people aren't talking about it, just because other people aren't sharing their experience on TV or social media or whatever, in books or in stories that they're talking to other people about, gossiping, doesn't make you a failure. Nope. Your experience is valid and it's okay. All right. So if anybody is like, I failed, I have to take it again, that's okay. That's your story. That's fine. It's fine. Nobody talks about that. But in the moment you feel like you have failed, you are not a failure. Life happens. That's just one of those things. You didn't plan for it. You tried your best. Great. That's okay. Try again. When you fall, you get back up. All right. That's one of those things. So I want you to think outside the box and not think that the social media, the TV, and all of that is the only way that things happen. It's not. Right. And even, please don't come at me with pitchforks, even what your parents say is not the only way. I said it. I did. Because what your parents went through is different from what you're going through. Not always, not everything. So parents, please don't come at me with pitchforks. But there are some things that are different. There are some things where there are opportunities, right? My parents didn't have the internet in the way that I have the internet. So there are some things that are different from what they went through, right? So keep that in mind. Think outside the box. Know that you are not alone just because you don't see your experience reflected in public. People just don't talk about it. And that's okay. You can talk about it. You can talk about it if you want. The thing is, you don't have to talk about it, but I don't want you to think you're alone. Don't suffer in silence, which brings me to the last point I want to talk about. The number one priority in life is you. You are your own number one priority. You have to be. You have to be. If you do not take care of yourself, mentally and physically, you cannot help others. Especially mentally, because you hear about it all the time physically, right? Exercise, eat right, do all that. Nobody tells you to take care of your mental health. And you guys know I'm big on that. You have to talk about your mental health. You have to take care of your mental health. I want you to talk about your mental health with someone who is, a therapist or someone who is a professional in talking about mental health, because talking with everyone isn't the thing to do either. But you have to take care of your mental health. Anxiety is real. If you think you will not suffer anxiety, I'm here to give you this wake-up call. It happens. But take care of your mental health. Take breaks. This is something I think also in my time of reflection, I'm realizing I'm doing too much. I am. I'm doing too much and I'm not giving myself enough time. And so in the next few weeks, I'm going to be making some decisions about that. What's going to get cut? I don't know. But I realized I want more time. I want more free time. And so, yeah, I got to think about that. Because I still want to help, right? This podcast, I love doing it. I love doing this podcast. But I have other things also happening in my life that is taking up time. So where do I carve out? Because there's 24 hours in a day. We have the same 24 hours as everybody else. But my 24 hours is different from Beyonce's 24 hours because I don't have the resources that Beyonce has. So keep that in mind. But you still all have the same 24 hours. But I'm not promoting hustle culture because I don't think that's good for everybody. So don't chase money, because if you're chasing money, you're not chasing your own happiness. If you're not chasing your own happiness, you're not taking care of your mental health. Right? I know that there are things in life that require money in order to do things, but there are people who are happier with a lower salary job than those with six figures because they chased happiness over money. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to recap because I don't want to, I'm still working through this on my own, right? But one, make a will. Please, 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 please. If you do nothing else, do that, especially if you have children. Because what happens in the event of an untimely death of you and your children's other parent or legal guardian? Do not let the state make those decisions. If you love your children, make a will that expresses your desires on how to take care of them. Number 2, don't take for granted that there will be a tomorrow. Don't put off that vacation. Don't put off your relationships. Don't put off taking care and connecting with people. Don't do that. Number 3, take some time to reflect. I've said it on previous episodes. It's never too late to pivot. If you need to pivot, you pivot. Maybe don't do it suddenly, but at least make the decision and put a plan into action. All right, you can do it. Number 4, take care of your mental health and take care of your health in general, but especially your mental health. It's so, so important, guys. So I'm going to leave you with another repetition of what my sister said at the funeral, because I think let that sit with you for a bit, because it sit with me, and yeah, it's crazy. But we mistakenly thought we had all the time in the world. We took for granted that there would be a next time. Don't take for granted that there will be a next time. All right. So go out there. If you guys, we'll put show notes up over on the episodes page at aimeej21.com/episode 255. That's episode 255. Until next time, remember, don't stop. Keep chasing.